Okay, so finally, people, finally, I got round to watching the Batman. Man, yo, so many people have been talking about this film, right? It's been declared as one of the best films, you know? So I was like, I've been trying to get round to watch it. So I was happy to get that done, right? So this new iteration is directed by Matt Reeves, who co-wrote it with Peter Craig. Reeves also produces the film, right? Along with Dylan Clark. It's executive produced by Simone Emmanuel, Walter Hamanda, right? Michael E. Uzlan, and Chantal Nong-Vu. It's associate produced by Adam Soren, Toby Hefferman, and Tina Anderson. Music was handled by Michael Giannici. Greg Fraser handled the cinematography. William Hay and Tyler Nelson edited the joint. Casting was Lucy Bevan and Cindy Tolan. Production design is James Chinlund. Set decoration, Laura Nug and Lee Sandals. Costume design, David Crossman, Glyn Dillon, and Jacqueline Duran. Our cast. Well, playing Bruce Wayne, aka the Batman, is Robert Pattinson in this new era. Lieutenant James Gordon is played by Jeffrey Wright, right? Who didn't Jeffrey Wright play J. Jonah Jameson in Daredevil? I think he did, right? I think he did. Um, we have Catwoman, though she's not called Catwoman in this film. Selena Kyle, played by Zoe Kravitz. We got the Riddler, played by Paul Dano. Carmine Falcone, played by John Turturro. Oz, aka the Penguin, played by Colin Farrell. Alfred Pennyworth is played by Andy Serkis here. District Attorney Gil Colson is played by Peter Skarsgård. There's a lot of people in here, and I'm looking and I'm thinking, I feel I know you from somewhere. Yeah, he was one of them. Okay, Bella Real is played by Jamie Lawson. She's a mayoral candidate. Kenzie is played by Peter McDonald. Chief Mackenzie Buck is played by Con O'Neill. Commissioner Pete Savage is played by Alex Burns. Mayor Don Mitchell Jr. is played by Rupert Penry-Jones. His wife is played by Kosha Engler, and his son is played by Archie Burns, or Barnes even. We've got Anika, played by Hannah Hertz. Anika is Selena's girlfriend. A young version of the Riddler is played by Joseph Walker. We've got a young version of Bruce Wayne, played by Oscar Novak. Thomas Wayne, his dad, is played by Luke Roberts. And Martha Wayne is played by Stella Stoker. Now, it was revealed in this film that Martha's maiden name is Arkham. I've never known that. I don't know if that was done in just for this film, or if that was Batman lore from days of ye old, but never knew that. Yeah. I mean, you don't care, but yeah. Dory, who is, I feel Dory was the house um, maid, whatever you would refer to her in Wayne Manor. It's played by Sandra Dickinson. Travis, played by Jack Bennett. Richie, Andre Nightingale. Glenn, Richard James Neal. Cherry, played by Lorraine Tay. I think that is probably it of our main characters, I would say. The twins were Charlie and Max Carver. They worked for Falcone. Yeah, that definitely, yeah, I feel that was our main people. Now, the gist of the story is this: Batman ventures into Gotham City's underworld when a sadistic killer leaves behind a trail of cryptic clues. As the evidence begins to lead closer to home and the scale of the perpetrator's plans become clear, he must forge new relationships, unmask the culprit, and bring justice to the abuse of power and corruption that has long plagued the metropolis. Bum, bum, bum. So yeah, that is the gist of this iteration of Batman. And I mean, one of the big things was it was going to be darker, right? Darker than a lot of Bruce, DC films that had already been out. Wonder Woman, Aquaman, the Superman films, Justice League, all of that kind of thing. Well, I mean, other than the Joker, right? Or is it the Joker or Joker? Either way, that was the thing. And like another big thing was also this was going to be separate, like Joker, which, I mean, I don't really understand. Doesn't necessarily make any sense. If you're trying to build something, right? Have loads of different films set in different versions of the universe. It's just, I don't know. But that was the thing. So, yeah, this definitely had a darker tone. Looked great, cinematically, right? Visually, yeah, looks really good. And I think one of the other big things here, we weren't going to get the origin story, which is always good because, like Spider-Man, we've seen Batman's origin story so many fucking times, right? So many times. We weren't going to get a weird Batman voice a la Christian Bale, right? But there are things, I feel there are things that come with that, And I think one of the other huge things, this is year 2 for the Batman, right? It's year 2. So he's done a lot of shit, but he's still kind of new to this in a way, right? Now, not in a way that, most people would know who the fuck he is, especially if you've now got the bat signal, right? But there's still a load of stuff he hasn't done, right? So I think there's some of the big things of this iteration. Now we open up with the mayor being whacked. And one big thing with that was we see him in his room watching the TV and like all of this kind of stuff. And we see someone behind him, clearly behind him. And this thing goes on for a while, and you're just like, I feel something you would guess someone's in the room, right? I wasn't really buying that because I'm just like, no, there'd be a sense of someone's in the room, or you'd hear something like, come on. And especially when we find out who the Riddler is, it's just like, there's no, this dude ain't pulling off stealth. Other big thing, right? There is a different actor. I feel that when we see the Riddler, um, that is a different actor, right? At the beginning and through a load of these different sequences and attacks and everything like that. Because you look at because right, so on IMBD, Salil Vad is credited as Riddler, right? But not credited. And I feel he may be the guy that we see in a lot of those early scenes, you know, in the house, in the mayor's house, right? In the district attorney's car, just in a load of those scenes, because physically he looks different there to then when we see him at the end. And right, at the very end, you get the guy being like, well, physically, I can't do it. I do it mentally. And it's just like, okay, if that's the case, how the fuck is it then that you overpowered all of these people? You know what I mean? Like, some of that doesn't, and to really knock someone out with a weapon, you gotta be strong, right? A weak person might hit you over the head and you might be like, motherfucker. But you're not gonna get knocked out by it. Right? There needs to, it's not just, oh, I'm hitting someone with this thing. So they're at, no, there needs to be the power behind the swing. So there's stuff in this which didn't always necessarily make sense to me. Now, obviously, I understand. I'm probably thinking way too hard about this shit, but I just get thrown sometimes watching this stuff. You know what I mean? They like, yes, there is the whole self what's the word I'm thinking of? Oh, suspension of belief. Suspension of belief. That's probably the gist of what I'm trying to say. There's that, right? There is definitely that. And I will do that. But then there's also got to be some stuff where you'd be like when we see the Batman on the tube station, you have people being like, who is this? And it's just like, 2 years in, they would know who that was. Right? 2 years in, they would know. Look, there's the bat signal. Everyone would know who the Batman is, but we have people act like, who's he? Who's this person? Right? Which doesn't necessarily make sense. If it was year one, right, I could get that a bit more. Not in year two. No. A guy running around the city dressed as a bat, and no one's like, no, everyone would fucking know. You know what I mean? It's just didn't really make any sense, some of that stuff, right? I think also there's, from what I was led to believe, this was meant to be a more realistic kind of version, right? Which, I mean, realistic in the context of a comic book film, right? A bit like how Joker was a bit more, grounded, right? So, in that sense, the mask thing doesn't work, or this iteration, just because the jaw, I think you could guess who he is from the fucking jaw, right? I mean, come on, right? If someone just goes like that on a picture of Bruce Wayne, you'd be like, hold on a second. Right? You want to disguise the jaw. You can guess who someone is, right? The eyes are kind of disguised, right? That whole thing. You'd be like, all right, that's kind of cool. That makes sense. I enjoy that's, yeah, videos. All right, cool. But yeah, the jaw just seemed weird. And also the voice. Because without a voice modulator, you'd be like, okay, no weird voice, cool. But then does make you more susceptible to being found out, right? Right? Now, also, like we get a lot of, Batman's a detective, but there's a load of shit which he's doing. You'd be like, okay, well, how would you not check that? Right? Like, how would you not understand that there's the risks of pen drive, the whole pen drive thing? You'd just be like, well, yeah, you're not just plugging a pen drive into any old computer, right? Now, there are huge things, right? The amount of companies that I've done work with, and you're trying to send them an email. You're like, our systems don't accept mail from here, or you try and send a link for Zoom or something, and be like, oh, we only use this one, or we got a bespoke one, right? And then going to do installations and think you can't just plug anything into certain systems, right? Because of risks. It's always like, well, we don't want to get any Trojans, any bugs, any blah, blah, blah. So you're not just plugging a fucking pen drive into anything, right? Because something will happen, which it did. You know what I mean? It's like thinking pictures. Who would take these pictures? Where are those pictures taken from? Okay, with a telescopic lens, where could those be? Which might give you like an idea of who this person is. No one's thinking that, right? When you think of a rat with wings, the only person they think of is the penguin. So many other options, and no one, like, just, it's kind of crazy. When you think, okay, this guy, this person, we don't know who it is yet, is going after all these high-powered people, surely you then put protection on all these high-powered people, right? It's just a logic thing, but these things just aren't happening. It's very odd, right? There's certain shit that just doesn't make any sense. I'd be like, surely, right? This thing, and there's a bit with a bomb. Batman's looking at this bomb. He knows it's gonna, but he still continues to stand there, and you're just like, at this point, right? You would try and move, right? Whether like I think in previous Batmans, the cloak has got some protective, so you'd wrap something, not just what he does, but you're just like, you're getting seriously fucked up. And we do see Batman get fucked up at once in one sequence, but next he's walking absolutely fine, which you're just like, oh, wait, what? This makes no sense. Man, and it's not, listen, understand, it's not, I don't hate the film. I did feel the film was long. I felt the film was fucking long, right? And it definitely felt long. That was one of the big things here. It's 176 minutes, so just under 3 hours, right? And it definitely felt like that. There's definitely stuff that you think, was this really needed? Could we have trimmed this a little bit? Where is it taking us? Right? And we've got Catwoman. Catwoman's got a girlfriend, which is like, cool. But then we have scenes with her kissing Batman. And you're just like, why? Like, why? Now, look, you want to give Batman a love interest, or you know what I mean? Well, firstly, there's so many people you could throw into that mix, right? But if we're saying, Catwoman's a lesbian, then, do we need this? Like, do we need this just in general? Because it's just, just that whole thing, strong female character, but needs to be saved, needs this, needs to be, you know what I mean? All the time. And it's just like, it's boring. It's just, but in this instance, just wasn't needed. Right? There's some funny bits. Like we see, Bruce with his shirt off doing stuff in the house. But he's also got a fire blazing. So the room's cold. So then it's just like, why you got a shirt off then? Right? Like there was no reason to have the shirt off in, I think, both of the scenes we see him with the shirt off. And it's just like, why is this, like, what is this scene doing? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's just weird. It's just weird. Right? Now, I think in previous Batmans, we've seen him train, right? So we'd be like, okay, that's how he became a big fighter. Like, I think he trained with Ra's al Ghul in one of them. It may have been one of the Nolan ones. I forget. Which is fine. But I don't think we've ever been told how he supposedly got his detective skills, right? Because that's the big thing. How's he, right? We see him on a motorbike, and we see him out of costume on that motorbike. And you're thinking, like, okay, so Batman leaves the scene, walks across the road, then someone on a motorbike rides off. Surely people would think, hold on, we saw Batman go there. Now this person's riding, follow that bike, right? When we see Catwoman leave her yard, not very discreetly, we see a load of people do shit not very discreetly. And it's just like, how is no one following? Like, how is no one looking into this? It's very, but I will say, Colin Farrell, pretty fucking great as the Penguin. I can see why they decided to spin that off into a TV series. He was pretty good. Pretty good, yo. Yeah, it's interesting because I think just because Danny DeVito and the way he's shown in the old TV series and all of that, I think you think about him as a shorter guy, but it still works. He's still kind of menacing and all of that, so it's great. Zoe Kravitz as Selena Kyle, not bad. Not bad. Robert Pattinson as Batman, not bad. The Bruce Wayne thing was weird because as Bruce Wayne, they have him looking. It looks like he's got AIDS or something. Like, look, he just looks mad ill, and it's just like, why you have to look so ill? Like, what is that bringing to this? And there's a weird scene where Alfred's like, oh, you're ignoring all your Bruce Wayne shit. He's just like, I don't care about that. This is all I care about. And it's just like, well, how are you affording that without the money that you're making as Bruce Wayne? Right? That's paying for this shit. You know what I mean? So this shit, and the other thing, you feel that through everything that he's gone through, there's an understand, like, and I feel he mentions, like, oh, I understand that, the world isn't a perfect place and people do these things and blah, 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 blah. But throughout the film, we have someone say something to him and be like, okay, right, that then it's true. You know what I mean? It's like people, like, and also gangsters being like, yeah, this is what happened. And be like, okay, that's what happened then. You're thinking, surely you would understand that you're not getting the full picture here, right? It's just very peculiar, like over and over again throughout the film. He's getting secondhand info and going, right, that is verbatim of what was said and what happened. I don't need to look into this at all. Which, yeah, weird. Very weird. Makes no sense. The whole ending thing, there's a lot that made no sense, right? When you think about Okay, if this was a political thing, there'd be security everywhere. They would have run so many checks on the building. So then, how would that happen? Right? How would that happen? At the funeral, you'd be like, a car, there's no way a car would have got that close. Right? In a world that's meant to be a bit more realistic, there's a lot of shit that wasn't overly realistic, you know? I will say though, it wasn't, yeah, as I said, look, it wasn't a terrible film. Too long, definitely too long. I feel that the Nolan one still better, apart from that third one, which stank, right? Right? But yeah, this was still decent, and you still want to see where it could go, right? So it laid a decent foundation. Definitely flaws. Yeah, I don't feel it's the best superhero film ever, or just a best film ever, right? A lot of the shit that was said about this film, I'm a little baffled, right? But yeah, still solid. You know what I mean? Still solid. So yeah, we'll see where it goes. Right? There's a lot of foundation that has been laid now. So it'll be interesting to see. The end the end scenes, though, right? That whole stuff in Arkham, you'd be like, that's a real security flaw. You know what I mean? Having prisoners being able to talk to each other. When you think of the prisoners that are in there, right? That's a security flaw like fucking crazy. This is like, what? What? But it is what it is, people. It is what it is. So yeah, that's just my take on the Batman. Also, are you really calling yourself the Batman? Right? That never made any sense. It's like in comic book stories when it's like we're in a civil war. Yeah, this is a civil war. Oh, this is a secret war, I feel. Yes, the event of the secret war. No one's saying it like that. What are we doing? I don't believe everyone's going, he's the Batman. It would just be like, yo, Batman's up in this joint. Like Batman. No one's saying the Batman like that. Come on now. What the fuck are we doing? What are we doing? Hopefully, all of this weird shit can get ironed out in the sequel. Let us see.